Every now and again, within the life of a ministry, perhaps even a couple times during the year, there is some value in the ministry recalibrating and representing the purpose and mission for that ministry. As we work through these next 4 weeks, today and 3 weeks after this, working with the soul of CUT, I want to ask you to do two things. The first thing I want to ask each and every one of us to do, including those of you watching via the stream, the first thing I want to ask you to do is be with me as we face the facts and hold the truth. Repeat after me. Face the facts, and hold the truth. Blanche, we know that facts change, yes? And we know that the truth is eternal, yes? And we also recognize that the work of the Christian metaphysician is to look beyond the appearance, yes? So I'm asking you to first commit to facing the facts and holding the truth. Is that okay? The second thing I'm asking each and every one of us to do, including those of you watching by stream, is to bathe, say bathe, to bathe this series and our hearing in prayer. To bathe the series and our hearing in prayer. To do what? Can you do that? Will you do that? Can you do that? Will you do that? I want to hear from everybody. Can you do that? Will you do that? Thank you. So the purpose of CUT, why does CUT exist? We exist according to the established purpose that God gave the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. We exist to teach the universal spiritual principles as taught and demonstrated by Jesus Christ. That is our purpose. When you ask what the purpose of a thing is, whether it's a person, a company, a business, an institution, a nonprofit, the purpose speaks to why the thing exists. CUT exists to teach the universal spiritual principles taught and demonstrated by Jesus Christ. And we teach those principles through our fivefold purpose. We'll take a deeper cut into this morning. The fivefold purpose that expresses through the idea called Christ's Universal Temple is teaching and preaching, prayer, healing, service, and fellowship. Yes? How many of you remember that? How many of you are hearing that for the first time? How many of you don't remember if you remember? It seems like that's the majority. The purpose of CUT is to teach the universal spiritual principles as taught and demonstrated by Jesus Christ. The mission of CUT, what is CUT supposed to be doing? Our mission is to teach all who are willing to learn how to live a better life through the renewing of their mind. The established mission of Christ's Universal Temple is to teach all who are willing to learn. And just in recent years, I adapted it to say through the renewing of their mind. But in a nutshell, we are a teaching ministry. Yes? And so this is where you come to learn that God's will for you is good. This is where you come to learn that it is not God's will for you to suffer or be in pain. This is where you get that it is if through our ability to access the love, the wisdom, the power, and the life that is within us, we can have the life we absolutely deserve. Is that right? This is where you come to get a better understanding of yourself as a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe that's governed by spiritual law. This is where you learn that not only are our thoughts things, but we are the thinker who thinks the thought that makes the thing. Is that right? And so we teach you that if you can change the way you think, you can change your life, world, and affairs. Yes? This is where you learn that if you will pray, if you will meditate, if you will sit and listen to what God has in store for you, it will bring you into harmony with God's good for you. And this is where you teach. This is where we teach that if you do understand that God is omnipresent and you work to demonstrate that, and if you recognize your innate divinity, and if you get that there is value and power in the way that you think, and if you will take the time to practice, not just occasionally, but often practice the presence of God, then you can't help but make the demonstrations that are possible to you. Is that right? In nearly 63 years, we have done just about everything that any ministry on the planet has done. And there is still yet a lot of work to do. But here is the reality. As we are presently constituted with all that we have and with whatever we're reaching for, 95% of ministries across the world would love to be in the position we're in. That's not an exaggeration. That's the truth. And we've got work to do. If I ask some of you to say to the person on your left and to your right, you're going to have to speak to because there is space for someone, yes. And the question that is before us is, with all that we've done, with the purpose and the mission that we've been given, is there still a need for a ministry such as this? Are we sure? Is there a need for a place that helps people to connect to their innate divinity? Is there a need for an institute whose stated mission is to remind someone that God is not punishing you, but God has equipped you to be able to live an empowered life? Is there a place in this world and in this universe where information is readily available? Is there a need for some place who continues to shine a light in the darkness to say, if you can get a hold of the way you think, you can change the function of your life? Is there a need for a place who understands the power and the benefit of prayer? Are you sure? Because here is why I ask, because people who understand the need of a thing respond according to the things to make that thing necessary. Now, I'm not just talking to you, I'm just talking in general. Are you with me? So I agree with you that the mission and the purpose and the principle and the truth that we have been given as a means by which to impact the world is still necessary. While those things don't change, the methodology should. Let me tell you what I mean. See, the methodology is the way you do it. It's not what you do, it's the way you do it. Let me give you an example. For some of us, the presence of this screen puts us out of the flow of what church is. No, don't laugh. Like this is real talk. Listen, for this series, I need to be able, I just need to be able to share with you as honestly as I know how. I need to just be able to keep it 1,000 with you and not shroud it and cover it and not protect you, because in order for this ministry to be what it is intended to be, in order for it to reach its optimal health, see, when a thing is healthy, it grows automatically. I never had to say to my children, grow. What I had to do, Herbert, was create the environment and make sure they had the things that they needed in order to be able to grow. right? So as long as I did the things that were needed, so long as, I didn't just do it by myself. I might not have even done most of it. Y'all got me real vulnerable right now. See if I can bring it back, cuz. But so long as we did the things that were necessary in order to support the natural working within them, their growth was a byproduct of that. Their growth was the outpicturing of what was already within them. Are you with me? And so in order for particularly a church to be healthy, there are certain things that are necessary in order for that organism to be healthy. Are you with me? And so then, let's just take a look at who we are and what we offer to the world and what our contribution is as God intends to express it through us. But let's also be open to the fact that the methodology of how CUT showed up has to evolve. Raymond Hollowell, who wrote Working with the Law, he said this: there can be no progress without change, no growth without renewal. And sometimes when it comes to ministry, the thing that keeps us locked in the inability to move forward is our adoration of our past. And so if we're more committed to who we used to be than who we are to be, then we're on the clock. Listen, I just have to give it to you where it has been percolating in my soul. Is that okay? And I can hear the words of our founder saying, grow we must. But there are certain things that are required in order for a thing to grow. Yes? So as a part of our purpose and a part of what we offer, we are a teaching and preaching ministry. As I said, we teach the principles taught by our Wayshore Jesus Christ, and our lessons are the key to soul expansion. Our lessons, sermons are designed to teach, to inspire, and to uplift you. Yes? Teaching is one of the methods that Jesus used to accelerate the understanding of those who had the ability to hear him. It's one of the ways he helped people come to understand their innate divinity. But there is a dual responsibility in the teaching learning process, yes? I just had a room full of teachers here. So there is a responsibility that I have, or a JCI teacher has, or a minister has, and there is a teacher that there is a responsibility that each of us has as learners. Is that right? What is my responsibility as the primary Sunday morning worship sermon teacher? My primary responsibility is first to show up prepared. The day that I do not show up prepared for you is the day I stop coming back. Now, you might not like the way I say it. It might not sound like the way the good Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman said it, but all I can do is give it to you the way God gives it to me. I would rather fail as myself than succeed as somebody else. So I don't believe that God needs me to be anybody other than who God designed me to be. God knew how I was wired when he placed me here. And so it has to, somebody say has to. It has to show up differently than me, because the consciousness that directs me is not the consciousness of my predecessor. It can't help but show up differently. My world experience is different than Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman's. I'm a cat from the low end. My bag is different. My swag different. Are you with me? So my responsibility is to make sure that I am prepared. My responsibility is to make sure I give you workable steps. So oftentimes you hear me teach, and I'll give you 3 points. It's not so that it's easy for, it is so that it's easy for you to remember, but it's also so that it's easy for you to work. There is a science behind grouping things in three. ABC? Who taught you that? Right? Who taught you that? There's a science behind it. Are you with me? My responsibility is to make sure that I provide some illumination through illustrations. So I don't just tell you stories to entertain you. I tell you stories so that you can help connect the dots. I also provide stories to help get past your biases and get past your unbelief. See, most of us, when we're looking at a movie, we are not critically analyzing the movie because the story is on the other side of our belief system. So how do you get on the other side of somebody's belief system so that you can help them? You either debunk their myth or you give them a story. Superman exists, but he exists in you. Wonder Woman exists, but she exists in you. Are you with me? My responsibility is to make sure that what I give you, you can transfer it into action. Those are my responsibilities. So my commitment is to make sure that you are well fed and well led. I don't have a commitment to perfection. I don't think anybody can ever hear me say that I've said I'm perfect. Spiritually, I am. Personally, some of y'all know he got issues. So my commitment is to make sure that you're well fed and well led. But I can't guarantee you that I will always give you what makes you comfortable. I can't guarantee you that I'll always give you what makes you happy. I can't guarantee you that I'll always give you something that won't disrupt you. Part of my responsibility is to disrupt the status quo, particularly if the status quo is not putting us in the flow of health. So what I need for you to be able to do is to be able to process it in the spirit of prayer. We're going to talk about prayer in a little bit. But just as I have responsibilities, who else has responsibilities? What is your responsibility? Your responsibility is to attend to the lesson with interest. What does that mean? That means you don't let the music get you off of point from what it is you came here to get. The music is intended to support and bless you. So I need you to not let the appearance take you off your appointment. I know, that's a nerve. Because the methodology is you don't look like this. The methodology is you don't show up without a tie. That's methodology. No. It doesn't have to be old. It's just that the world is moving. See, there was a time when you couldn't show up in a corporate space looking like this. Today, in a corporate space, this is the way you look. So I just need for us to not get off track with the appointment for which we showed up. Because if you let it, the music will be the soundtrack for your transformation. If you let it, but you have to let it. Right? You have to let it bless you. And it's hard to bless you if you've got judgment about stuff that you don't like. And hear me. I get it. I've said to you before, my understanding and my appreciation and my assimilation into CUT was the same as many of you. So I have to stretch myself. So I can be fully present to what God intends to do through me for us on a given Sunday morning. I have to stretch. And listen, you don't need a teacher to stay the same. You don't need a leader to stay the same. Right? It's not my I'm not a babysitter. I'm a leader. And see, so as a leader, it is my responsibility to make sure that we move it from here to there. Now, one of the things that I also owe you as a leader is I owe you to help you understand why we can't stay here and why we must go there. That's a part of this month. As a leader, I owe you to do that more consistently. I have to do better. Somebody hear me say earlier that you never heard me say I'm perfect. See, so as a leader, I am growing and developing as well. Are you with me? So we all have a responsibility in our learning. So one of your responsibilities is to attend and be present so that you can. I don't imagine that anybody came to this church to not get what they came for. But I can hear the founder saying people come to church for different things. What is your responsibility? Your responsibility is to think the truth, principle, point, or content into understanding. Your responsibility is to think. Somebody say think. Your responsibility is to think the 3 points that I gave you. It's to think the principle. It's to think the truth. It's to think the lesson into the comprehension of your understanding. I can't give you understanding. I can give you the content. It's the Christ in you that will unpack it for you. Are you with me? So your responsibility is to think it through. You've got. Here is how the good Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman gave it to us. She said it works, but you have to work it. You have to work it. You can get some enlightenment from the slightest thing. Are you with me? We both have responsibility. One of your responsibilities is to work the understanding into a new habit, skill, or behavior. See, one of the things that blessed me in this ministry was my ability to engage and work with what I heard. To engage it and to work with it. And what I learned was that if I worked with it, it will give its fruit to me. But the truth does not just expose itself to you. You got to work with it. And not only do you have to work with it, you got to use it. Health is available to you if you work what you've been learning. Abundance is available to you if you work what you've been learning. Better relationships are available to you if you work what you've been learning. If you just hear it and do nothing with it, then it cannot give you the benefit of your learning. Are you with me? So we're a teaching ministry. One of our fivefold purposes, teaching. Second in our fivefold purpose is that of prayer. We say CUT stands on the firm foundation of prayer, which is our common union with God. Prayer is absolutely essential to all that this ministry has done, all that the ministry is currently doing, and all that the ministry has in front of it. Prayer is essential. Here is what I would love to have, and I'm actually going to ask you for it right now. I would love to have a team of people, and I imagine some of you are doing this right now, but I believe we can do it with more intention. I would love to have a team of people who pray with me while I'm preaching on Sunday and teaching on Sundays. Because sometimes I don't know if what I'm feeling is just in the room, but I think we need more prayer. Bathed in prayer. A prayerless ministry is a powerless ministry. When Jesus was visiting Jairus, as he was on his way to the rabbi's house, some people came out to meet him to let Jairus know that his daughter had already made her transition. And Jesus said to Jairus, he says, don't worry, she's not dead, she's just sleeping. And once they got to Jairus' house, there were some people who were just keeping up a commotion. And as Jesus was preparing to enter into the house, when he said to them again, they said, no, it's too late. She's already dead. She said, no, she's not dead. She's just sleeping. And then some of them began to laugh because they could only make the assessment based upon what they saw. And so then Jesus took into the house the parents, Peter, James, and John. Come on. And when he went into the house, he said to the young girl, get up. And the scripture says she rose. See, my concern is that sometimes more of us show up to keep the commotion than we do to hold the prayer consciousness. And what I'm asking you to do is to and listen, I don't know who is from who, but here is what I do know. There is power in our collective consciousness. And what I'm asking you is if you will commit yourself to prayer and enter into this house with the parent thought of God is working a mighty work, and if you will bring to you faith and love and power, I believe we will see a move of the Holy Spirit unlike we've seen in some time. Rather than talk about it, pray about it. See, complaining does not change anything. It just keeps up commotion. Enter in with faith, love, and power. And here is what I will believe. Here is what I believe. The idea that is Christ's universal temple, that appears one way, will rise up. Because God is not nearly done with this ministry yet. I was really only being rhetorical when I asked you if there is a need for a ministry like this. Of course there is a need for a place that is a light up on a hill. Will you pray rather than complain? Will you pray rather than keep up the commotion? And listen, I'm not suggesting that you will like everything I say or do. I don't like everything I say or do. Sometimes I have disagreement with me. I pretend just like I didn't see that. God has need of this community as a part in helping to shift what we see happening in our community. God has need of this community to help bring people into the full awareness of who they are and whose they are. God has need of this community, and those of you who make it up, I want to ask you just to not stop yet, to keep going. We're not done, and we've come too far for him to leave us. I got to leave it right there. God bless you.